Girls, has a guy failed to notice your obvious hints? If so, what's your story? I'll preface this with I'm a guy, but it's not really that I don't even pick up on hints or have no idea that they're flirting. My brain realizes that it's flirting, but then it's like that would really embarrassing if she was just being nice and wasn't actually interested, so I never do anything. When I first met my husband, he rode a Triumph. Motorcycles were always, and still are, a huge part of his life. So, very obviously dripping with double entendre and all but waggling my eyebrows lasciviously, I go, so, when are you gonna take me for a ride on that beast of yours? And he told me, dead serious, that he doesn't take passengers on his bikes because he doesn't want the responsibility, and even removed the passenger pegs. I think I detached my retinas rolling my eyes that hard. The first time we slept together, I was staying the night, and like a gentleman, and I really do appreciate this, that he didn't assume. He offered to put me up on the couch, showed me where the bathroom was etc. So I go, maybe I can just sleep with you? That one he managed to snag as it was sailing by. To this day, my husband is so bad at picking up when he's being flirted with that I say thank goodness we met on a dating app, or he'd never have known I was interested. He's a very good looking guy, and he gets flirted with all the time, but he just never notices. As a guy, whenever someone tries to flirt with me, my brain just doesn't process it. I feel like I'm too ugly for someone to be interested in flirting, even if I know that irrational. As a not girls, if you just say something straightforward like I like you, do you like me? It would save us all some trouble. I will try to do the same from my side. Last year around Christmas time, I passed a billboard for Aladdin the musical playing in our city. I knew my wife would love that show, so really excitedly I asked her if I should get tickets for us to go. Apparently she'd been hinting at it for weeks. I'm still not sure I believe her. I asked a crush if he wanted to go on a date with me. He said yes. He thought he was hanging out with a friend. Had to tell him right then and there that I had a crush on him. He's at my place sitting on the couch. I sit on his lap facing him. He asks me if I want to watch something. I say I kinda like my view now. He goes, you won't be able to see the TV? He's my boyfriend now. Yes, he failed. We are married. I had the opposite story. I met a really cute guy in acting class. He stayed after to chat with me, and seemed really into me. I had no confidence back then, and he was incredibly attractive, literally models for romance novels. I ran into him in the street sometime later and he was so excited to see me. I was in my PJs, unwashed, picking up a pizza to eat entirely by myself. He said I should come over and he'd cook for me sometime. I assumed he meant as a group with some friends, even though he didn't mention friends, and I kinda awkwardly made some excuse to leave because I felt so gross and just wanted to go home. Much later I realized he'd been hitting on me. Your brain invents some really stupid assumptions when you don't like yourself. Oh, he must think I'm such a loser while a man is asking you for your number and inviting you over to freaking cook for you. We're living in a time where no means no, and maybe yes means no also. So most men are waiting for you to be very direct and explicit with your intentions and what you're willing to partake in. Met him in a Dungeons and Dragons club in high school. Did some flirting but didn't respond. Had a few other chances to hang. About a year later, under very funny circumstances, long story, we went out on a date. After going to a park, we go down to his parents' basement to watch a movie, and that's when I saw he had every one of my favorite movies and TV shows taped. VHS off the TV. We are old. I knew he was a keeper. Dropped more flirts. He was completely polite and charming. I can't remember the circumstances exactly, but at some point he gave me a massage. Completely polite, non-sexual massage. I tried changing position, asking him to move his hands, anything to get him to understand I didn't want a polite massage from him. It might have worked, except I didn't know at the time that he had magic hands. Folks, I screwed it up. I fell asleep. He woke me up just in time to get me home on time. I may have screwed it up, but eventually it worked. He said he got the hints but didn't believe I was after him. We are about to celebrate our 28th anniversary. Guy here. I recently discovered that some girls did like me back in high school. Had zero clue. I'm blind to this stuff. Almost didn't date the woman who is my wife because I had no clue she was into me. I'm daft at picking up signs for this stuff. Could be the Asperger's. Or I'm dumb. We were watching Offside Invisible Man because he knew I was excited to watch it. We were in his bed. Not dating at this point, but I knew he liked me. He was too much of a gentleman to make a physical move, so while cuddling, I turned to him and said, "You can touch my butt if you want." Happily together during the quarantine. Having trouble determining if my hints are that subtle or if he is politely ignoring them because he is uninterested. I'd be more direct, but we are in a position where we interact frequently and I don't want to make it awkward for him. Girl here. Said let's duck. He said what that mean? We're married 430 years. Don't mind me. Just monitoring this thread. TBH, as a guy I would much rather that females would just ask if we like them. It's so much easier. I do it the other way too. I smiled at him, talked to him and seeked him out, and I even laid my hand on his leg. He didn't even look at my hand. Just kind of talked over it. I think he's blind because my signs are so obvious. Maybe he's not interested, but that's okay too. Male here. Every now and then I actually can tell when a girl is flirting with me, but one of these three things always happens. Either 1. I'm shocked that someone would even flirt with me and I don't say anything because I don't know how to flirt back. 2. Say something really dumb and ruin the mood. 3. Get confused because why would a girl flirt with me? As you can tell from my responses, I'm still single. My now boyfriend was hanging out at my place. We didn't have much to do but watch Netflix and we had yet to have a sex yet. So I decided to try on some different combinations of bra and panties for him along with some old slutty Halloween outfits. At one point I was literally modeling lingerie for him. Nothing. I am a large, conventionally unattractive man. I will always assume your hints are just you being nice. Being called a nasty predator is not a pleasant feeling. Some guys might notice, but the risk of thinking something was a hint then being wrong usually outweighs the outside chance that it was a hint. Or it happens more often than menfolk want to admit. Some guys are very shy, and that's delightful, honestly, and fun. I spent about 20 minutes trying to politely hint to a guy that he didn't need to drop me off at my place. He kept thinking I was meeting up with friends after our date. I finally grabbed him by the waist, shook his jeans and remarked, "These are coming off and you're getting off." His eyes went round. He blushed and nodded. He then drove me back to his place and proceeded to stall. He did just about everything other than show me his stamp collection. I finally just walked into his room, dropping clothes en route. Finally he yelled, "I'm supposed to come in there, right?" When obvious hit oblivious. You'd be surprised how sarcastic the mind can go. It was all I could do not to yell now. I'm just super messy. He sorted it out pretty quickly. High school. First time I went over to my male friend's house. I was crushing hard on this guy, and I knew he was single, so when he showed me to his room I laid down on his bed, threw my hands above my head and said, "Wow, it's really comfy." When that didn't work I started kinda bouncing and said, "Sure is springy too." Nada. Just kept taking about the pictures on his board or his collection of dragons. Ended up making a fake MySpace, duck I'm old, and told him he should definitely ask me out. Dated 9 years. Married 7. He's still slow F sometimes. 22F. Had been flirting with an old friend at a party all night. First hint. When it came to a close he offered to split an Uber home since mine was on the way to his. I purposefully accidentally forgot to add my place as a stop, so the Uber went past mine and straight to his. Second hint. I said I'd order another one home and he said not to. I could crash at his. I said I'd gladly make it up to him. Third hint. I said it's super flirty. Then when we got inside, he set up his couch for me and went to his own bed alone. Thought I must have been reading him all wrong and that he wasn't interested back. Gave up and that was that. 6 months later we ran into each other again and reminisced. He told me he was super interested in me but assumed he was the one reading things wrong and that I couldn't be interested in him. I was too far out of his league. Safe to say he felt like a complete idiot when I spelled it out. Moral of the story, shoot your shot. He told me he wanted to have a 6. I didn't want to lose my virginity to him, so I said I wanted to lose my virginity to someone who loves me. 15 minutes later he tells me he loves me. Ducking idiot. We play dumb a lot to avoid having to confront advancements from women we have zero interest in. Like, a lot. Not a girl, but I have a relevant story. So I have a friend that I was hanging out with more and more outside of class last year as the semester was winding down. One day we were hanging out in her dorm room and repotting some small plants we got from the university. After we were done with that, we sat on her bed and watched YouTube videos, and I asked if I could put my arm around her shoulder, which she went for, and after a while she took my hand and put it down on her hip. So we sat there for a couple hours and she eventually asked if I wanted to have a drink, which I refused cause I said I had to drive home, and she said I could stay for the night, and I said no thanks again cause I didn't want to sleep on the floor. She said, and I ate you not. Well, you could sleep with me if you wanted to stay the night. Ass. Nope, I said sorry, I'd love to, but I don't want to inconvenience you like that. And I am not a great person to sleep beside cause I toss and turn. She didn't have a large bed. Ass. She then said, oh, well, it was fun hanging out tonight, and gave me a little toy off her desk so that I had to come back and spend the night some other time so I can return it. I still have this more than a year later because by the time I realized what it was meant to be, she had long since gotten a boyfriend she had been with for about 5 months, so I wasn't going to bring it back. It took me more than 6 months before I thought back to that night and realized just what had happened. F in the chat please for a total idiot. Speaking on behalf of all guys, don't give us hints, no matter how obvious. Just tell us. We prefer it and we are too stupid to notice hints. As a girl, I could throw a little bit of insight into the hints, though it could be just me in this. Hints could be used to see how someone reacts to certain things. If I poke someone, with the main intent to ask about class walk or something, and they whip around saying, yes, sugar plum, I just professionally carry on with the question and then just nope out of there. If I ask them how their day's been and they answer with something more interesting, then fine. Then I'll engage in a conversation right back and see what their personality and sense of humor is like. If I end up being really great friends with someone and we start watching movies together every lunch on sketchy websites from a laptop and we stay up until 2 in the morning messaging about our problems and never discuss our relationship, then I'll just sob a little bit over our mutual lack of communication as the school year ends. Sometimes women just aren't that interested in every guy that flirts with them. The same can be said of men and women. Often just pretending not to notice is a strategy to not hurt someone's feelings.